Travel and Things in association with Sun Destinations, iconic destinations with amazing experiences, present In Conversation with. I am your host, David Batsoffen, and like all good camps, when you arrive, there is something welcoming to make sure that your hands and face are clean. And this is exactly that at Nambu Camp. And I'm joined by the owner of the camp, Rewald Drinkwater. Rewald, good afternoon and welcome to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, David. It's good to be here with you. We saw you at Nambu Camp a couple of weeks back, but great to have you online here.
Thank you very much, and thanks for joining me. What's the weather like up your way? Here in Joburg, it's freezing cold.
You'll have to make a move up here then. It's glorious. It's beautiful. Our winter's days here are really, really nice. So, no, it's well into the 20s at the moment and
Mhm.
beautiful crisp days.
Tell me a bit about the camp. Firstly, the name. What does it mean, or how did you come about it?
So, Nambu is a isiTsonga word and it means river. Now, my surname, as you said earlier, is Drinkwater. And I always wanted to have something that was connected to our surname.
Mm.
Uh, the best connection that I could find is a little bit of is water, obviously, and a river is filled with it. And then
Right.
also based right on the on a dry river bed that sits in front of us, and your views are over that dry
Mm.
river bed. And we're lucky end of November, beginning December, it often is flowing. And so there's a couple of connection points that I needed to have connect with it. And then the other thing that I wanted was our international guests need to be able to pronounce it and
Pronounce
remember
it.
it. And Northern Camp, phonetic, easy to spell, easy to
Yeah.
remember. Marketing wise, there was a little bit of thought in it as well.
Okay, because once they visit, they'll never forget. That's almost a given. I've been to your camp, I think it's three times, and every time there's been something new to see or new to experience. And this particular trip was no exception. The gardens in the camp are spectacular, and guests are faced with these walkways, which makes it easier to get from place to place. And as I say, the gardens, and at the right time, you've got impala lilies, which are just truly spectacular.
Yeah, we've just gone past a bit of the Impala season,
Mhm.
Impala lily season. Now going to into it again, and I had a beautiful stroll through the garden yesterday with my dad,
Mhm.
who started, and we had a look at all of our aloes that is just starting to push buds through now. So
Yeah.
slowly but surely going to another part of the year, which is obviously our winter. It's a lot
Mhm.
drier. It brings its own special and its own magic in the colors that it brings through. So
Now,
yeah, we might go about
this
that.
is where you're sitting currently. If people they can see behind you that particular
Yeah.
piece on the wall. This, I have to say, was the biggest change I've ever seen in a lodge, Rewald. I mean, there was nothing here, and then there was. And then even though there was, you decided that wasn't enough and you wanted to do more. And it looks like this now. It's spectacular.
So so Nambu Camp went through. We should go a little bit further back. Nambu Camp went through a complete revamp in the middle of 2024,
Mm.
and did quite a bit of work to it. Our bedrooms have all been revamped and really been done up to hotel standard and really nice and modern, clean and simple. But then we had this area underneath our main deck area where we do our dinners, and there's a nice lounge above us here. And this area below here was always there, and it was a really nice area, but it was a little bit cramped.
Mm.
So last year when we did the revision of the whole lodge, we decided to remove the decking that was here. We lowered it by a good 60 centimeters, gave ourselves a lot more headroom in the space that I'm in sitting in now, and it just made it a lot more welcoming, a lot more nicer. And suddenly, one of the things that I've always wanted and that I've always made sure that there is at Nambu campus, that there's multiple places for people to sit.
Yeah.
And this, suddenly we had an extra lounge space, and in front of that lounge space, two beautiful areas where couples can sit, enjoy a glass of wine, and just have a view over the landscape that sits ahead of you. I'm sitting here now, and I can see the Drakensberg Mountains in the distance, and it's beautiful and clear. And
Mhm.
then also the autumn colors are just starting to come through now, and so there's a lot of rich yellows and oranges coming through. The Tamboti tree to the right here is beautiful at the moment.
Now, talking about yellows and oranges, there are orange cushions on your settee. And over the years that I visited your camp, this is an area that's had, I don't want to say the least amount of work, because that sounds disrespectful. But I suppose if it ain't broke, there's no reason to fix it. And this, to my mind, wasn't broke. It's just as glorious as the first time I stepped inside this area.
Absolutely. But it's also important to refresh and
Mm,
continuously keep things. And so majority of the furniture in the main lounge is still the original furniture that I had, that I started in 2018 with in that particular position that it's in now.
mm.
But you refresh some of the scatter cushions, and we put a beautiful new, much bigger rug in, which is an incredible thing. I am not one that would have thought that a rug could do a big difference, but it made a massive difference to that room. And we changed the coffee table, and we changed a couple of things, and all it is just keeping with the times and keeping
Yeah.
things nice and fresh in the lodge a bit. We
Have,
also are very fortunate to have returning guests,
mm,
and it's also important, to one, walk into a familiar space, into a place that they fell in love with when they originally visited, but also to walk into a place and go like, these people are keeping it together.
yeah. I think this is what guests don't realize. And I know you and I have had this conversation where new guests don't know how much work you've actually done in the intervening years, you know. But you talk about putting down a new carpet or a new rug. I don't know whether you've ever seen The Big Lebowski, but there's a line in there because he's looking for a rug to tie the room together with. And your rug certainly ties this area together. Now, you were
Oh,
talking
for sure.
about you're talking
Yep.
about areas. This is sort of where you see to another area you can look out, as you say, as far as the Drakensberg in the far distance.
Absolutely. And the one thing that guests are often, especially South African guests, but also guests that's done their research and that's been in South Africa quite a few times, which is often the case with our guests, is
Mm.
that they are very, it actually is the Drakensberg that you can view and you can see from here. Most people are just familiar with the Drakensberg being in KwaZulu-Natal, and
Correct.
that's where it's found.
Yeah.
But it absolutely stretches all the way up into Limpopo, and it peters down not far from where we are,
Mm.
but absolutely here. And then obviously it's the Blyde River Canyon that forms part of it, and part of our view is directly into the canyon, although at a distance, but you can see it.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it quite special. People are often surprised by the geographical location of what they get here.
Yeah. Now, this was the other huge change for me. I mean, nobody thinks of let's just lift up a pool and move it sort of 10 meters to the left, which is exactly what you did. It may be a bit more, maybe a bit less, but you uplifted this entire swimming pool and moved it. And that's just to give
Yeah.
your guests more privacy. It's in a glorious spot now. It still gives you fabulous views out over the landscape and the sky in that area. But this must have been a huge undertaking, Rewald.
No, it was a massive undertaking. And also on the photo here, you don't really see it, but it's an oval shaped pool.
Yeah.
And to get the maths right on an oval shaped pool was a two day fight between myself and architect, my dad who knows one or two things about maths. It was a thing. But it's now positioned in, I think, the best possible position.
Yeah.
It's elevated by 5 meters, beautiful decking all the way around it, and the vistas and the views from the pool itself and from the
Mm.
lounges that surround it And from the couches that just sits to the right of it is just incredible.
Yeah.
The amount of time that our
Oops.
guests sit and disappear into that is
Yeah.
wonderful. Really.
I didn't mean to jump straight into food, but food is a very important part of Nambu people. And I only have two words about the food at the camp. Pace yourself. That's all I can say because it's there almost constantly.
Yeah. Look, it's a very important part of going on safari and being in a space. You are not near anywhere where you can get food, which means,
Yeah.
you are on the camp to supply that pull out. And that is what you get. It's you get breakfast, lunch, and dinner as part of your meal, as part of your safari with us every single day.
Mm.
Um, and over the years, I've learned a few things. Initially, we did really inventive food and fresh and modern and clean, and it's absolutely what works. And people enjoy the fresh and clean, but it must be super, super simple.
Yeah.
Because you work with a majority of foreigner guests, you need to make sure that the food that you present to them are 100% understandable.
Yeah.
And that's lesson learned, over the years. We've had a foam here and then a smoke coming off something there. And then we realized, people kind of move things to the side of the plate because they're not 100% sure what they're eating.
Mm.
Then if we sat down with the chefs in the kitchen, and we've got three wonderful ladies in the kitchen, and we said, right, how do we make sure that we fill our guests' tummies with excellent food, don't offend anybody, and make sure that they actually eat their food? And we've come down to the point where the simpler, the cleaner, the more
Yeah.
presentable something and understandable something is to a guest, and especially a foreign guest, the better it is. Foreign guests are very often very cautious of what they eat because they don't want to get an upset tummy.
Yeah.
So, they think about all of these things. You are trying to present them with the best, most beautiful meal, but they are cautious with what they eat. So the lesson learned here for us was definitely to keep things simpler, cleaner, and simply presented.
Yeah. You forgot one thing though. Just before afternoon
Oh yeah.
drives, you've also got cakey things and as if lunch wasn't enough, now you must have cake and scones and all sorts of stuff just before you head out on safari.
Look, there's continuous sustenance on at Nambu Camp, and the cake is definitely a highlight in the afternoon. The ladies in the kitchen make wonderful cakes, a good Victorian sponge, probably the best carrot cake in the whole of the Olifantswest Nature Reserve, and if not best, probably the most delicious chocolate eclairs you will find south of France. I would venture putting.
North of
Then
Johannesburg.
there's a couple of other small interesting things that we also do, which is nice. Is you get up early in the morning and you head out relatively early. In winter time, it's now 6 o'clock. In summer, it's 5:15. But you often are out there, and it's a 3 hour,
Yeah.
process that you're a good night's sleep. You've had a quick coffee with maybe a rusk here at the camp, but now you're out on the vehicle for 3 hours and you're bumping and bumbling around. We send with our coffee that we do also on the stop. We often send freshly baked muffins. We have these great console jars that we put fresh fruit and yogurt and muesli in. And it's just important that there's a continuous sustenance for our guests to make sure that nobody's hungry at any point. And then when they come back, there's a beautiful
Full
continental
breakfast.
breakfast with a hot breakfast if you want it.
Yeah.
Majority of our guests just have the continental breakfast.
No, I believe, go large or go home. Or go there and come home large. I'm not sure which of the two is applicable.
Yeah. Yeah, it is one of the things that I struggle with is that there's not a lot of time to do exercise in
Yeah.
between safari. So the pool is there, you better swim it off.
Now, this is the area we were talking about earlier. You've got the lounge upstairs and the deck where you're sitting downstairs. But this particular angle is probably the least known. Although it's easily accessible, there's an easier way to come down on the far steps if you're headed for the
Sure.
pool rather than use this access ramp?
Yeah, so I think there's multiple access points to all of the various sitting areas that we have at Nambu Camp. The important thing is, again, people must have access to everything,
Yeah,
and there must be space. If you want to have a quiet afternoon, there's multiple little nooks and areas where you can
yeah,
have your place, where you can chill, read your book, uh, curl up on the couch or anywhere. There's multiple places.
yeah,
But the important thing is that you can also get to all the places with one or two different routes. And
yeah.
Nambu Camp, for sure.
Now, you were talking about the bedrooms and the Impala lilies. Um, I have to, and I've said this to your face, I have to congratulate you on your reading lamps. I think they're spectacular. They do the job that they're supposed to do rather than being just decorative. And the room, as you said, it's simple. I don't want to say, I suppose, minimalist in a way, but it does what it says on the tin. It's where you go and
Yeah.
lie down. You've got a shower, you've got a toilet, you've got all of the above. And you don't really need to spend vast amount of time there. You can go and sit at the pool or in the lounge rather than on the deck outside your room.
So David, that's exactly you hitting the nail on the head. I had an option last year when we redid the rooms to make the rooms a lot bigger and give it a lot more space. But my philosophy is people have traveled and spent money to come to Nambu Camp
Mm,
from Europe, or Americas, wherever it is that they come from. I don't necessarily want them to spend their time in their bedrooms. So the bedrooms are super comfortable.
yeah.
Every single amenity that you could think of or would need in the room is there. Great showers, great water pressure, great shower hoses, um, good ablution facilities, good water, any water
Mm,
facilities that you need in bathrooms. And then also in the bedrooms, we've just put in the most beautiful cork low reverbed butler trays and espresso machines. I'm not sure
mm.
if they were in the rooms when.
Yes, they were.
Now, the idea is to make the rooms super comfortable, give them beautiful beds, good linen, good space, good curtains so that you can pull them shut in the afternoons if you want to have an afternoon nap and you can make the room nice and dark. But the point is you want a comfortable space where you can have a quiet space if you need, but you also have a deck that each of the bedrooms open up onto that is private, that it's got its own seating area with its own little table. And if that's where you want to be playing backgammon with your partner, that's what you can do there. Or you come down to the main lodge and you have multiple spaces in the main lodge to do it. But the aim for the bedrooms was to get clean, simple, comfortable bedrooms.
And that's exactly what you've done. This is the other access. It comes from the upstairs lounge and then wanders down here towards the pool.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
And the original pool was actually where the landing for this staircase is now.
Yeah. With
So,
that in
so
mind,
when
Rewald, how many of your guests with the original pool came down those stairs in the dark and ended up in the pool?
luckily, we had good lighting, so we didn't have anybody fall in there. But we have had one. We had a friend of ours visit a while back, and he unfortunately ended up in the pool some way, one way or the other. We're not quite sure how he. Then we had a leopard not too long ago visit us in camp,
You
and
kidding?
top of the staircase there is a fire pit,
Yep.
and we had a Swiss pit there, and the leopard came straight past her, got a bit of a fright, went straight down the stairs, not
Mm.
realizing that on the opposite end of these stairs, and the railing is tall, so you just went straight underneath the railing and went splash into the pool. So we've had a couple of visitors in the pool.
We had to get the leopard out.
He got out. None of us were here to see it,
Ah.
but she said by the time he had gone past her, he hit the water. It was like a flash in the pan, and he was out and gone. But
This is
when she explained it to us and told us where he had run, we could find on some of the elephant pathways that we have, we
yeah.
could see the run and skid marks that he had. a little bit.
This is probably one of my favorite views of your lodge, and for many reasons. One being the fact that you work to this long table for food. Your camp isn't huge, so it's easy to limit the number of people. What is it? 5 units that you have? Six?
6 units, 5 beds.
It's 12 people.
Yeah,
So you can serve them all at a table, and it makes for wonderful interactions because you ask questions of each other. But if they want to be private, you are amenable to putting a table outside on the deck if they want privacy for whatever reason.
absolutely. We often have guests that request a bit of, space by themselves or dinner by themselves, and totally there's multiple areas that you can do that. We've got a beautiful grass green circular area on the right hand side of the screen here that we often put guests out on to enjoy a
Mm.
meal in the evening if there's a little bit of alone time. But getting back to guests and this beautiful long table, it's just one of the most phenomenal things to see people from different backgrounds, different languages, well, big language barriers quite often,
Mm.
just communicate and chat and just have the best time.
Yeah.
And talk about where they've been, where they've going to, and people sharing ideas and saying, listen, we've just come from Cape Town, or we've just come from the Drakensberg in Natal. Go have a look at this, or go for the wine farm in Cape Town. This, we really enjoyed this.
Mm.
And it's phenomenal to see people share that information and enjoy that information with each other. It's
And
really,
I
really, really.
Now, I've always said this about game lodges specifically. Unlike a hotel where you go to your room, you come down, you have breakfast, you go about your business during the day, you never see anybody else. Or if you do, there's no interaction between you and the other guests in a hotel. In a game lodge, it's different because you're um, sort of all together in one space. You go out on a game drive vehicle, you have similar experiences, either on one or two vehicles. Not every vehicle follows the other one. So one person may see a
Yeah.
lion, the other one sees a leopard. And then you come back and you discuss all of this over a meal. And it's wonderful. And as you say, language barriers. And I've sat at that long table with guests of yours who can barely speak English, or I can barely speak their language. But like the penguins in Madagascar, there's lots of smiling and waving, and you get by. It's as simple as that.
And the wonderful thing with technology is you only need to show a picture of a rhino or an elephant or something, and
That's exactly it.
they know exactly what they're telling you.
Yeah,
And it is really, really wonderful.
yeah. And this is that same sign that we started off with, but it lit up at night. Real for people who want to come and visit you, how do they go about it? Is it easy to book? Um, give us the background to how people can get to you.
So, David, it is super, super simple. We are part of the Sun Destinations group. They can either go to the Sun Destinations website, and there's various links that'll take them to us. But the easiest is to go to nambucamp.com, and
Okay.
all the information is there. And right on top, on the right hand side, is a book now button, and you click on that, and it takes you through all of the steps that you need to know. You can book directly on there, but essentially it will direct you to Sun Destinations, and you'll receive an email from them, and you can talk.
Yeah.
And wonderful thing is the Sun Destinations team was just here with me yesterday,
Mhm.
and they are full of information, full of knowledge, and anybody that needs anything more than just we want to go on safari, they will make it happen.
No wonder they aren't answering my emails and my text messages because they're with you.
They were with me. They were on holiday. They were having a great time at Nambu Camp, enjoying a glass of wine. Cool.
Nambu Camp is not that difficult to find. You're just outside Hoedspruit, and it's not one of those lodges where if you sort of go through a main gate and then you get lost, and I've done that before, sort of 20 kilometers in the wrong direction. It's very easy
Yeah.
to find your camp. It really and truly is.
I think we're very, very fortunate. Our positioning is a very big plus point for us. We've super easy to get from the airport to us. It's about 40 minutes drive from the airport, Hoedspruit International Airport.
Mhm.
And then So you can come directly from Hoedspruit town to us. It's about 16 kilometers out of town. And you enter the Olifants West Nature Reserve gate. And once you're through there, they'll give you a map, and it really is pretty straightforward
Yeah.
getting to us.
And the beauty for me, specifically if a camp like yours is set, I don't want to say deep inside a reserve because you're not that deep in the reserve, but it turns into a mini game drive for yourself or for whoever's arriving. Because
It's
there's all sorts of wonderful things you can see along that main road.
exactly, yeah. It's often quite entertaining to have guests arrive and go, gosh, we had unheard of elephants, we didn't know what to do. And we had to take it slow. But inherently most people know, respect
Yeah,
the animal and let it do its thing and you'll be fine. And
yeah.
so, but you can see that. And we are about 8 kilometers inside.
Mm,
We're about 8 kilometers in.
yeah,
The original then road is big and wide, and the further you go, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And the last, I would say, 2 kilometers before you get to Nambu Camp is really a two-track road.
yeah.
So that could be a little bit challenging for people, but it is also part of the adventure.
Well, this is it.
It's
But you don't have to rock climb or anything like that to get to you. You can get there
no, no, no.
in a regular vehicle. It may, and you can do it even in a, I don't want to say a sports car. I don't know if I'd take a BMW Z4 to get to your camp,
Well,
but a
we've had
regular
some
car.
cars arrive at camp. We've had some beautiful cars arrive at camp, and I think the one that was the most fun for me was a mini convertible.
Well,
Um, And I was very, very impressed. It actually had very good clearance. So, but
that's all you need.
that's what you need. As long as there's clearance and common sense, you can
Yeah,
make it work.
you can indeed. Talking about that clearance and common sense, if you'd want to clear your head out, the common sense thing to do is to get hold of Sun Destinations. Why am I saying directions? Ask them for directions to Nambu Camp. Book a stay. You won't go wrong. Rewald, thank you so much for joining me on In Conversation with. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and it's always a pleasure to visit your camp.
Excellent. David, thank you very much. And thank you very much. And come see us again soon.
I shall do indeed. This has been In Conversation with. My name is David Batsoff, and thank you for joining. And until the next time, goodbye.